I do not wish to waste anybody's time here. My previous two videos on Tekken 8's movement are irrelevant. What was discussed there is currently an analysis of a game that does not behave like the latest patch available. Despite the fact that Tekken 8's movement was equivalent to Tag 2's in the previous season and in the current one after the buffs is slightly better, regardless of what some buffoons claim online, the reality is that the balance and power creep have utterly destroyed any semblance of viability for lateral evasion. Season 2 is unfixable, not because of fundamental issues that cannot be tackled without a full rework, but rather because of the exorbitant number of changes and additions made to the game. I am only one man, and my warnings that patches of biblical size would kill Tekken 8 like they killed Soul Calibur 6 reached nobody. However, it does seem that, for once, a great deal of the player base has woken up to the repugnant practice of entirely changing games with books worth of modifications. Of note, the new buffering of sidesteps is a complete lie. Sidesteps could already be buffered in previous entries of the series. What has been added is the ability to fully buffer a side walk. I can understand that idiots who are unaware of how the games work would make this mistake. Most commentators and content creators, despite having played for years, still obfuscate the conversation by mixing steps with walks. However, seeing this from the developers themselves is extremely saddening. Suffice it to say, both actions are different. Still, this is now quite irrelevant, again because of the changes made to every character. The Tekken team has clearly stated their mission. We can no longer point to incompetence for the results of their actions. This is all part of their vision. They are not stupid, they simply chose this direction. There is no point in laughing or crying about unintended behavior, like with Paul's forward 1+2 allowing for guaranteed damage on block. Jax makes some noise being uninterruptible from his regular jab string, however, was completely intentional. It will only be changed because of how much people have complained about it. I have no doubt in my mind that Harada, Murai, or whoever is actually at charge of the decisions made knew that Clive's forward 1+2 had no counterplay, it being a safe on block, fully homing, hit engager that did chip damage and which covered half the stage. Same for Jax Make Some Noise. There is no possibility on God's green earth that nobody in the Tekken team for 5 months of testing did not go on training mode and try the new move they had just added. Let me remind everyone that this very Tekken team has just added a new training mode function which simplifies the testing process by making the CPU cycle through movement options automatically. In other words, they knew what they were doing. They knew Jax Make Some Noise is uninterruptible. They knew the string is one of the most overpowered tools in Tekken history, surpassing Dragunov's Day 1 Sneak 4. This is all intentional behavior. They are only changing it, again, because of the apocalyptical response they received. Again, they only nerfed Clive's forward 1+2 because of the mockery Mulgul made of the team during the STL finals. Since this is the direction they chose, I know there will be no fixing it. The Tekken team is not simply going to remove the hundreds of new moves added to the game. They are not going to revert 1,500 changes. This patch is here to stay. As such, I only really have a single plea. Please, Namco, release a Tekken collection with at least either Tekken 5 or Tag 2 with online capabilities on PC. Relying on RPCS3 to play online matches is not good enough. Please, Namco, I already bought Tekken 8 on release for €108 and even got a costume pack for €5. I bought Tekken 7, the game I hate the most, twice, for PlayStation 4 and for PC. I currently have 445 hours on the game on Steam. I have given enough to this title and it no longer is Tekken. Again, please just give us Tekken 5 or Tag 2. You already got my money and I am willing to give even more for a Tekken collection or a series of Tekken re-releases. To end, and just to say formality to fulfill my quota of constructive criticism, I will give my own views on what should be done to Tekken 8, a game I've defended up until this point. I will not dwell on all characters, only on my main one, Brian, and on universal mechanics. 1. Massively improve lateral movement even further. I have already said that, in a vacuum, Tekken 8's lateral movement is outstanding. However, I believe it can and should be even stronger given the ease of realignment in every Tekken entry, Tekken 8 being no different. How this should be done is out of my knowledge, as this would require privileged insight on how tracking fundamentally behaves from a developer's perspective, whether this hypothetical improvement were to be made by shrinking defendants' hurt boxes, shrinking attackers' hitboxes, or by reducing realignment duration and realignment angles is something I cannot mandate. 2. Massively improve backdashes, at least to Tag 2's level and ideally to Tekken 6's level. I do not believe this needs further clarification. Three, remove chip damage entirely. If not removed entirely, limit it to hit only or make it a character-specific strength, like with the bears. 4. Remove every single homing low in the game. Adapt every single low into either being entirely linear or only half circular. Every single low in the game should lose to some form of lateral movement. Every single one. 5. Remove stance transitions from practically every character in the game. This includes transitions into crouching. Eddie, Anna, and Safina, for example, being allowed such moves is completely understandable considering the fact that they rely on stances or fully crouched mix-ups. As a matter of fact, I do not see a problem with Anna being the only character allowed to enter a crouching position from a hit engager. The rest of the cast should not have this tool. 6. Entirely remove strong aerial spin moves. This does not need any further explanation. All of these changes should result in the following. Every single move in the game with only a handful of extremely powerful hit-dependent moves should have a clean, clear, and unquestionable weakness to a movement option. In other words, if we were to set the CPU to the new cycle movement option after a blocked standing jab, the character, and I mean any character in the game, with the only exceptions perhaps being Jack and the bears because of their quality as large characters, should consistently be able to step or walk or backdash when set to range 1. If an attack beats every single movement option while at +1, it should always be highly punishable on block at minimum -14 or higher, or be a high attack. Case in point, Lass's new while running 1, a high homing move that covers every single movement option. With my proposed changes, the direct counterplay would be to dog the move itself or, on block, punish it. If this move or any other move falling within the same circumstances were to guarantee uninterruptible follow-ups on block, then a sidestep or a sidewalk should consistently cover every option. With this approach, we would keep the characteristics of aggressive gameplay while allowing the defendant the option to disengage from the 50-50. the attacker would be able to attack, to be aggressive, to present his stance on block, but the defendant would have an option, not simply guess low or guess mid. As it stands, however, there is no counterplay and Lars can simply force a 50-50 on block. When it comes to strings, it is simple. Every single string in the game should lose to sidewalks. No exceptions. There is no string in Tekken that should ever catch both sidewalks. When it comes to throws, revert back to Tag 2 status, 14 frame break windows, fully linear, and every character has access to a full throw game. Forward throws are not necessary. Throws were perfected in Tag 2. Not only is a 14 frame window perfectly doable for regular people despite the copious cryon, but if backdashes are taken to Tag 2 or Tekken 6 status while even further improving lateral movement, throws will be usable again as a high risk option. Throws, as understood by Tag 2, did not break the game because a player with better movement than his opponent would not be grabbable. I will now talk about my proposed changes to my main character, Brian Fury. 1. Remove Snake Eyes and every move or extension that relies on it. 2. Remove Sway 1. Since the very first beta in which Brian was available, we, Brian players, have been very clear. Sway 1 is an overpowered move. It should not exist. 3. Remove Brian's up forward 2-2-2-3 and 4-2. Brian should not have access to such powerful links from his taunt and he should not have such strong early punishment outside of his jab strings. 5. Remove downback 1+2. This move is redundant with the existence of Requiem. 6. Reduce Requiem's tracking even further. This move should not be able to hit an opponent who is sidewalking in any direction. A mid, safe on block elbow, hit engaging, wall splatting launcher is good enough as is and should only really track against single steps to the left and nothing else. 7. Return Hatchet Kick to Tekken 6's status, a -14 on block low that is +2 on hit. 8. Change down 4 to -2 on hit instead of 0. I have already pointed this out earlier, but for further clarification, remove all of its tracking to movement to the right and keep only its tracking to single steps to the left. I do not want to spend much more time with Brian's lows, so I'll just say it here. Every single one of Brian's lows should lose to sidewalk left. No exceptions. 9. Remove Snake Edge, or at least return it to Tekken 5's status and make it a completely linear move that is used as a heavy read against high attacks. Snake Edge is a useless meme attack. This is a waste of space. 10. Make 1+2 on safe on block at -10 or -12 and remove his 1 follow-up. Keep only his 2 follow-up. 1+2 being an easy access homing move with an extension is already good enough. It does not need a safe on block high follow-up. 11. Remove Northern Cross. This move is redundant. 12. Give Brian back his Magic 4. At the very least, give him a kickoff follow-up, like for other characters. 13. Entirely remove tracking from his hit burst and his hit smash. Brian does not need anything else. Every other character in the game should also receive massive nerfs and little to no buffs. Power creep is completely out of hand. I am aware that this will not happen. However, as said before, this is simply a formality in case anybody speaks of constructive criticism. That was all from me today. I am devastated with this patch.